Final Fantasy is among the most successful and influential video game franchises in history. However, there's one title within the beloved dynasty that stands out as perhaps the most iconic: Final Fantasy VII. Hailed for its story, music, gameplay, and yes, even its graphics, the game shook up its generation like no other before it, setting a new benchmark for what the RPG genre could achieve. That's why, following the announcement of the game's long-awaited remake back in 2015, Square Enix had their work cut out for them. Not only did they need to adapt the classic to captivate a modern audience, but they also had to do it while retaining everything that had made millions of fans fall in love with the game in the first place. Did they pull it off? Here's how Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out swinging. Right out of the gate, this remake gets you feeling as though a true epic is about to unfold. The city of Midgar, once depicted by blocky characters and blurry backgrounds, has now been fully realized. It's satisfying to see just how far graphics have come since the original game's release in 1997. But of all the things that can make a game visually impressive, it's FF7's distinct art style and rich world design that are truly breathtaking. Towering Mako energy plants splash their surroundings with a greenish hue. The sun shines through cracks in the great steel sky up above, and an array of eccentric enemies makes sure each fight is a spectacle, with flashy attacks and razor-smooth animations. Your ability to switch into bullet time during combat further emphasizes these spectacles, allowing you to appreciate the fast-paced action in a way few games offer. However, some visual hiccups do make an appearance throughout your time in Midgar. Environments are highly detailed when the story's in full swing, but when momentum slows to allow for side quests, or you're traveling between important locations, certain textures and NPC models can become a little too reminiscent of their PS1 ancestry. Character expressions also suffer during these sections, losing most of the nuance given to them in more plot-heavy sequences. These issues aren't impactful enough to detract from the overall experience. They're just slightly disappointing in an otherwise gorgeous game. Opting to split Final Fantasy VII's story into several games may have been one of Square's most controversial decisions, but after playing this first installment, it's hard to imagine it being done any other way. Midgar is a complex city defined by its corporatocracy, economic segregation, and environmental negligence, themes more relevant today than ever, and they now have the length of a full game to develop. As expected, you still follow leading man Cloud as he lends his ex-soldier skills to the eco-terrorist group known as Avalanche. But this time, you hear the tale of Jessie and her motivations behind joining Avalanche. You feel the weight of Barrett's dilemma as he tries to explain to his daughter Marlene why he can't be around more often. And you watch as Cloud struggles to summon up the courage to give a simple high 10. Every inch of the narrative has been expanded. Characters given mere seconds of screen time in the original are now charismatic, multi-layered people. Even entirely new additions to the cast are easy to fall in love with and earn their place along your journey. Above all, the heroes at the heart of Final Fantasy VII are treated with immense respect, especially Aerith, who has some of the strongest character moments in the game. For the most part, the voice acting is excellent, bringing life to every role no matter how small. However, the experience is hampered slightly by some excessive anime grunting. It's the last 5% of the game where the story begins to derail. Characters start speaking cryptically, and a sudden shift in narrative focus struggles to respect the themes and pacing of everything leading up to it. The change is poorly executed and relies too heavily on prior knowledge of the complete FF7 story. The result is an ending that's unfriendly to newcomers and even confusing the series' veterans. There are many narrative implications that might just turn out to be borderline brilliant, and the spectacles never cease. But the strength of this installment's ending depends heavily on how well things are explained in the sequel. If there's one thing in this remake that's absolutely flawless, it's the music. Original composer Nobuo Uematsu's iconic soundtrack has been rearranged into one of the most emotionally enriching scores ever to appear in a video game. Classic themes have received a complete orchestral overhaul, often including multiple variations that adapt to beautifully match your every situation. These highly melodic themes have played a large part in what has made FF7 so memorable over the years, and their return only continues to strengthen the sentimental impact of its world and characters. You can even find the tiniest hints of foreshadowing in the music if you know your FF7 story well. And if that weren't enough, Nobuo Uematsu has returned with a new soft rock song entitled Hollow, written as the official theme for the remake. The sheer diversity of music is enough to keep you constantly enthralled, from the collectible CDs scattered throughout Midgar to a few choice dance numbers at the Honey Bee Inn. There's always something to appreciate playing in the background of your gameplay. After over a decade of experimentation, Square Enix has finally crafted a modern combat system that stands toe-to-toe with their turn-based systems of old. This hybrid mixes the traditional strategy and tactics of their previous games with real-time action combat. The basic principle? To attack, dodge, and defend against enemies in order to fill your active time battle, or ATB gauge. Once the gauge is full, that's when a world of choice opens up, and you'll want to switch into bullet time to select from an array of spells and abilities that you've handpicked from your growing collection of materia. That's right, the materia system is back, and it's just as fun to play with as ever. There's a wide variety of materia, both old and new to equip, ranging from classic elemental spells to a deadly dodge and a pedometer. Leveling them up and experimenting with different combinations in battle is a joy, especially when you find a build that's really effective against that boss that's been giving you so much trouble. Navigating through menus feels slick, and there are a number of helpful features to make swapping out materia as effortless as possible. It's impressive how much the system respects the original while still taking the necessary steps forward. At times, it's easy to marvel at how strikingly similar combat can look to the original. Not all the depth in the combat system relies solely on its predecessor though. Since it's not technically a turn-based system, timing matters. Knowing when to attack and defend is crucial to staying on top of a fight. Luckily, if your reflexes aren't finely honed, slowing combat allows you to take stock of your surroundings and anticipate enemy attacks before returning to the fight. Switching characters is also a necessity. The game teaches you this early on by including multiple enemies that can grab your active character and temporarily incapacitate them. While they know how to attack and defend, don't expect your AI-controlled teammates to do anything too incredible until you take control of them directly. The whole system is built around constantly rotating characters to further simulate that turn-based feeling. When you get into a good groove, nothing is more satisfying. The system isn't perfect though. For example, cutscenes will often interrupt boss battles, causing you to miss crucial opportunities to deal massive damage during their fights. And while being grabbed encourages teamwork, enemies grab you even when you're alone, meaning you have to wait while they slowly siphon your health before they let you return to the game. These issues interrupt the flow of combat, but flying enemies are the most glaring issue. Both Cloud and Tifa are missing abilities that can reach them, and as a result, player options are reduced significantly, and attacking in the air to compensate feels clunky and ineffective. It's fortunate that most enemies stick to the ground, because the camera also struggles to track anything that's too high above you. However, despite these small grievances, this is a deeply engaging combat system that sets a strong foundation for the series as a whole. Staying true to the original, level designs are fairly linear in Midgar. When you're not in one of the main towns, expect to be running down long, twisting paths getting from point to point. Combat, coupled with some great character banter, keeps you enjoying your time on the road. Though aside from enemies, there's very little to interact with in most areas, some of which overstay their welcome. Occasionally, you'll need to activate a series of generators or robot arms to progress. But these roadblocks are often more tedious than fun, and they artificially lengthen your journey. Towns, on the other hand, are much more interesting. These highly populated areas are filled with life, making it easy to listen in on countless conversations as you go about your business. If you pay attention to these conversations, you'll end up learning quite a bit about Midgar and its people. This non-intrusive world building makes you feel as though you know the world without ever having to pick up a book or read through item descriptions like so many other games. While the side quests in FF7 are pretty standard fare, everyone you encounter has a noteworthy personality. Take the time to invest in characters, and there will be subtle payoffs later on. Helping a little girl find her cats may not be the most epic thing you could be doing, but she's friends with Marlene and the effort helps foster your relationship with Tifa, which is never a bad thing. The game also has a variety of quality of life features. Once finishing a side quest, you can fast travel back to the quest giver. Important tutorial messages remain on screen until you close them, and nearly all cutscenes are skippable. It's surprising how few games include these features. Needless to say, they're much appreciated and help elevate the experience. Final Fantasy VII Remake starts by offering 3 difficulty modes: Classic, Easy, and Normal. Both Classic and Easy modes are the same, except Classic makes real-time combat automatic so you can focus on issuing battle commands. Completing the game on any difficulty will unlock a chapter select and a hard mode. A single playthrough averages around 40 hours, and there are plenty of loose ends to tie up when you're done. Replaying the game allows you to get alternate cutscenes and side quests, along with a hefty challenge spike should you play on hard mode. Final Fantasy VII Remake is filled with wonderfully realized characters wrapped in a gripping story. Though the game has a few chinks in its armor, the innovative combat system, gorgeous world, and incredible soundtrack offer a memorable experience that has us eagerly awaiting the sequel. And that's why I'm declaring Final Fantasy VII Remake a top-tier game. For this review, Gaming Auditorium is giving the limelight to 2 YouTube channels that will provide you with even more FF7 content. For a behind-the-scenes of the remake's soundtrack, the official Final Fantasy YouTube channel. To see the English voice actors behind Aerith and Barrett team up to play the original FF7, Strange Rebel Gaming. If you'd like to help support me in building this channel, check out my donor box. Links to everything provided down in the description below. Like and subscribe if you want to see more, and of course, thank you for watching. I hope to see you again here inside the Gaming Auditorium.